Let's dive right into this explainer because today we're going to explore a habit you might not even realize you have. We're looking at a linguistic reflex that is incredibly common, yet secretly draining your authority, your energy, and your self-worth. So, today we are answering a very important question. Why do you apologize too much?
Seriously, how often do you say, "I'm sorry"? I want you to just pause for a second and consider how frequently you apologize for things that aren't actually your fault. We are not talking about those moments where you accidentally step on someone's foot or make a genuine mistake that hurts someone. We are talking about apologizing for taking up space. You bump into someone in the hallway and you apologize. The waiter brings you the wrong dish and you say, "Oh, sorry, no, it's fine." Someone else's printer jams, and somehow the word "sorry" just falls right out of your mouth. Basically, how often are you saying sorry for simply existing?
Think about these automatic apologies. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm sorry for asking. I'm sorry for bothering you. I'm sorry for taking up your time. We typically file these phrases under being extremely polite, right? And we kind of file ourselves there too. But here's something absolutely crucial to understand. For many people, apologizing becomes so automatic that they don't even notice they're doing it. And it isn't always about being polite. Sometimes it's a sign that you've learned to make yourself smaller to keep the peace. Maybe you grew up feeling like your needs were a burden. Or maybe you became so used to putting everyone else first that you started apologizing simply for existing. It's a massive energy leap.
Section 1. The Roots. Why we shrink.
Therapists actually have a name for this. It's called the fawn response. It's one of our core survival reflexes, right alongside fight, flight, and freeze. If you grew up with childhood emotional neglect, or maybe you had unpredictable or highly critical caregivers, saying "I'm sorry" became a way to avoid conflict. You learned that the way to stay safe was to make everyone around you happy. In complex PTSD, this fawning response is a coping strategy. So I want to be really clear and offer some empathy here. Your over-apologizing was once a brilliant survival mechanism. You learned that your needs were too much, so you shrank yourself to survive.
There's this quote that I absolutely love, and it perfectly captures this. The grown version of the weather forecasting child still walks into every room and instinctively checks the sky. Therapists call this parentification. It happens when a child has to manage their parents' emotions instead of the other way around. In a volatile house, sorry was never an admission of guilt. It was a preemptive strike, It was a tool to diffuse tension before it even exploded. If you said it early enough and warmly enough, you could stop something bad from starting.
But fast forward to today. That volatile house has long gone, but your nervous system didn't get the memo. The body remembers. Over time, your brain actually begins to associate apologizing with safety. Your amygdala, which is the alarm center of your brain, is on hyper alert. So a raised eyebrow in a Tuesday morning meeting travels the exact same neural wiring that a slammed door traveled decades ago. Your brain hits the panic button and triggers a sorry to preemptively claim the fault, because if you're the cause, you can do the fixing. You end up constantly volunteering to manage the atmosphere of the room.
Section 2. Social conditioning and the gender gap.
Now, research shows that women do actually apologize more than men, but it's not because women apologize for things they don't think are wrong or because men just refuse to apologize. It actually comes down to having completely differing thresholds for what counts as an offense. In sociology, there's something called social role theory. It suggests women are heavily socialized toward communal goals, maintaining relationships, reducing conflict. Men are heavily socialized toward agentic goals, prioritizing status and competence. So for someone anchored to agentic goals, admitting wrongdoing feels like a huge threat to their competence. But for someone driven by communal goals, an apology is just a totally necessary tool to restore balance in the relationship.
And because of this social conditioning, women are often taught to use apologies as a tool to soften their requests. Think about statements like, "I'm sorry, but I really need you to do this," or "I know it's a bother, but..." Many women, especially those over 40 who are juggling households, emotional labor, and professional careers, they learn to use this relational repair language to avoid appearing too direct or quote-unquote threatening. But treating this conversational softener like a genuine admission of guilt hides a much deeper issue.
Section 3. The hidden cost of sorry.
Let's think about how your presence is perceived when we look at the intersection of value and authority. When you constantly preface your requests with apologies, you are sending a very clear message to the room. What I'm about to say isn't worth your time. And the real problem? People believe you. If you offer tremendous value, but you constantly underestimate yourself, you become the hidden asset. Your ideas get stolen and your career stalls. Or even worse, if you consistently apologize for your presence, treating yourself as an interruption, you slip into the burden persona. You diminish your own contributions, and predictably, you get treated as a low priority.
So the crucial takeaway number here is 0. That is the exact amount of respect you gain when you preface a highly valuable contribution by saying, "Sorry to bother you." Harvard Business School research found that while habitual apologizers might be seen as likable, they are consistently rated as less competent and less worthy of respect. And get this, neuroscientists have actually documented that words of self-diminishment trigger a threat response in your listener's brain. When you apologize for existing, you're literally hanging a discount sign on your ideas, your time, and your worth.
Section 4. The shift from sorry to thank you.
So how do we fix this? This is where emotional intelligence can completely change your life. We need an action plan, a transformation protocol. Step 1 is the language audit. Self-awareness helps you notice the habit. I challenge you, for just 1 week, track your apologies. Notice when and why you say sorry. The next time you're about to say it, pause and ask yourself, did I actually do something wrong? Am I apologizing out of respect or out of fear? Then, step 2 is the replacement script. I'm sorry is a reflex, so we have to consciously choose new language that doesn't devalue us.
Let's look at a prime example. Notice the massive difference when we swap an apology for gratitude. Before you speak, ask yourself, would "thank you for your patience" be more accurate than "I'm sorry I'm late"? When we apologize, we are dwelling on the negative. But expressing gratitude shifts the focus to what went right. It acknowledges the other person's flexibility. It entirely changes the energy in the room from self-diminishment to confident, empowering appreciation.
Or take another one we say all the time. Instead of "sorry to bother you," simply ask, "Do you have a minute?" The first sentence testifies against your own worth. It literally assumes you are a burden right out of the gate. The replacement script does the exact same social smoothing. It's still incredibly polite, but it stops tearing you down. Each time you make this swap, you are sending a tiny message to your nervous system's old alarm, telling it, hey, no fault occurred here, no fixing is owed.
Section 5. Reclaiming your space.
Let's do a rapid-fire list of everyday situations that absolutely do not require an apology. Healthy boundaries remind you that your needs matter too. When you give your opinion, don't say, "I'm sorry, but I think." Just say, "Here's my perspective." When you disagree respectfully, no apology needed. When you ask for help, you are not a burden. When you set a boundary, say, "I can't commit to that right now." No guilt required. And please, never apologize for occupying physical space. Not every situation requires an apology. Sometimes it requires confidence, sometimes it requires honesty, and sometimes it simply requires remembering that you don't have to apologize for having needs, taking up space, or using your voice.
I really want you to absorb this next statement. You are allowed to exist without constantly asking for permission. Seriously, would you expect someone you love to apologize for every little thing? Of course not. So why on earth do we demand it of ourselves? Self-confidence helps you trust that you don't need to earn your place.
So I'll leave you with this question. Where will you stop apologizing for taking up space today? It is time to retire the reflex. You don't have to be the weather forecasting child anymore. The weather is not your job to fix. So, do you catch yourself apologizing too much? What's one situation where you've noticed this habit creeping in? Let that be the very first place you start reclaiming your space.